Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hello, guys.
I'm really excited about this one.
I'm super excited, and I don't know about you, Molly, but and any of one of our listeners who has uteruses. Periods suck. Hormones suck.
Yeah.
And birth control. Birth control specifically fucks my shit up. And we've had episodes on this where we've talked about.
Yeah, we had a birth control episode.
Yeah, we did. That
last
was
year.
So crazy.
Yeah.
But these problems just don't go away overnight. And sometimes we need intervention. We need guidance. And we follow a lot of different kinds of women who, this is their specialty. They work on hormone balancing. And Alyssa Vitti.
Yes.
Alyssa
Vitti.
Yeah.
Cycle syncing.
Yeah, she's one of them. But this particular woman, she's so fantastic. Her name is Nicole Bendayan, and she's a nutritionist and cycle syncing nutritionist. And she has all these tips and tricks of how to basically sync your cycle in a healthy way and manage your hormones, your hormone imbalances. And she knows, oh my God, so many different kinds of hormone imbalances because they're all so different. And what my hormone imbalances could be different to yours. And
things that we are taught as women that you just have to live with. This is just how it is. You just have to deal with it. And we're not given information about our bodies that we should have access to from puberty, because there are things, very simple things you can do, eating certain types of foods at different phases of your cycle that can eliminate symptoms that we're taught are just normal things we have to live with, like bloating or acne, all these things. So I can't wait to get into this with her.
Yeah. And you don't have to jump through hoops either. These are really simple things, food that you'll probably find in your fridge anyway. So we're going to learn a lot.
Yes.
So enjoy.
Welcome her on.
Thank you so much for being here, Nicole. We
Welcome.
are so excited to have you on because we were just talking about how obsessed we are with finding out more about our cycles because we had no idea.
We had no idea. And it's this massive, obviously there's a term for it, patriarchy, but there's a massive conspiracy.
What's that?
We don't teach. It really feels so intentional, with the national education system and everything, don't teach girls, just teach them that they can get pregnant and that's scary and they shouldn't. And how to not get pregnant as opposed to it's really magical. I was telling right before we hit record because we didn't want to miss anything you were saying. I was 29 years old when I learned that there were 4 phases to our cycle. I didn't even know. And I'm so excited to have you on. And we kind of wanted to figure out, what got you even interested in this and how you started.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Please.
There was a lot of things that ended up leading up to where I am now. Definitely the first thing was that I was on birth control for 10 years.
Yeah.
I started when I was 16 and it was the easiest thing that I'd ever gotten from the doctor.
Yep.
It was just here you go. There's how to use it and go on with your life. And then a few years in, I started experiencing these weird symptoms. And I knew intuitively that it was related to the birth control, but I was super dismissed by my doctors.
Yep.
And then, I did my nutrition education. And while I was doing that, intuitively, my head was I don't know myself without synthetic hormones. I have been on synthetic hormones since I've had these hormones pretty much. So who am I without them?
Yeah.
And as I was going through my nutrition training, I realized how important hormones are and how much they affect so many different aspects of our lives. So I was just really intrigued by it to start off. So I went off of birth control. All of my symptoms went away.
Wow.
And this was after protest from my doctors who were no, it has nothing to do with it. Just stay on it. You're fine. You still have another 3 years.
What stake do they have in it? You know what I mean? It's why would they?
I think it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just,
I think it's maybe how they're taught to.
Yeah. I honestly do think that is a lot to do with it. I don't necessarily think it's done intentionally with malice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's obviously really hard in a 3-minute interaction to truly provide someone with resources and understanding and actually listen to them and actually support them. And, I've talked to a lot of doctors over the last few years And one of the things that they like automatically say when I say I'm a nutritionist, they're like, we don't learn enough about nutrition. Like,
That's
so true.
crazy to me.
Yeah. Like one course in first year medical school, and like, that's it.
Right. And then the amount of, I was talking to someone the other day. One of my friends is a critical care nurse, and I wasn't speaking with her, but I know her experience going through med school and for years, you know, and it's like you said, it's not malintent from doctors and nurses, because they truly are, a lot of them are in the industry because they want to help and they're doing what they're taught. But it's how you're taught, where it's like, no, eating and like natural remedies or some combination of that with Western medicine can't be it. You know, it's just prescribe this, prescribe this, prescribe this.
Well,
Totally.
so it's so interesting too, because you're on birth control. Me had never been on birth control until college. And then I can't find one where I'm not violently ill.
It affects.
I've tried 4 or 5 different types of like you can't get any lower low estrogen than what they put me on, and then I was still violently ill for at least 24 to 48 hours, and it's like I don't know what the fuck. So I can't. I'm so scarred from trying it at all, but that doesn't mean I don't suffer from hormonal
and that's what like
crazy hormonal problems.
Want to learn from your experience as well as you continue your story, because I don't have crazy negative effects from it. I've been on it for a long time, but I'm at a point where exactly what you said, like, this is synthetic hormones. I want to just I want to go off of it, and I want to know my natural cycle and my natural state is. I just don't want to be on synthetic hormones anymore, even though I'm not having any bad side effects, but it's just like, I don't really need to,
like the principle of it.
The principle of it. And just like, so what happened from there for you?
I mean, so after I went off of it, I stopped experiencing a lot of these symptoms. And then I started researching about my reproductive hormones, which wasn't really taught that much in my nutritional education, which I was really surprised about now, looking back on it. So that was when I found out that there was 4 phases to my cycle, similar to you. I had no idea. And I was like shocked. Like I was shooketh. Because
same.
But it was crazy because I was like, I have all this education in like holistic nutrition.
That's insane that you hadn't learned it.
Yeah. And I think actually it was one of my courses in holistic nutrition that was the thing that told me that it was, but didn't go in depth about how to support and like all of the other stuff. And I was like, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've been into nutrition and biohacking and all of these other stuff for years. Like even before I got my nutrition education, like way before. And I had no idea that there was 4 phases to my cycle. And I was like, that is insane. Like I thought that I was well informed, and insane.
I was going to ask, I was like, what was in that training, in like biohacking is such a cool fucking phrase. First of all, it sounds like we're in the Matrix a little bit, which obsessed. I was going to ask, like, what's the most shocking thing you learned? And is it the 4 cycles? Like, or maybe there's more that's missing in those conversations that you found out in your training.
There's tons of information that's like, okay, so it's all conflated also because I was going through my training as I was researching my cycle and like doing personal research and like looking at all of those journals and papers and stuff. And then doing my formal education as well and getting all of those certifications. But it was the more that I looked into it, the more that I realized that I didn't know anything. And having been like interested in nutrition and wellness and body for so long, like, how is there so much that I didn't know? And then I started having conversations with others and they had no idea. And I was like, this needs to be out there. And it's crazy that once you start understanding the patterns of those hormones and you understand how to support each of those hormones, you're able to work with the different phases of your cycle to not just support your physical body and like optimize your health, but to reduce like PMS symptoms. Like PMS is so common, but it is not normal.
That's the thing that, okay, so I wanted to ask you because there are so many things that, and I know a lot of women experience it much worse than me, but I also know that like it's become certain things are just normal to me. For example, like the cravings the week before my period, bloating. If I have a week, you know, I'll forget because like the week before my period and I might not be thinking about starting it yet, but I'm like, just feel like gross and fat this week. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's because it's the week before my period. And I move on. And then I'm like, but it doesn't have to be that way. And also, you know, like hormonal breakouts around my chin around that time and things that I know through diet you can eliminate. But like for some of those, for example, I was looking at your Instagram page the other day too, and you have a bunch of posts about like, you know, for, magnesium, eat this, or this will support, and it will take away these symptoms of PMS and all that. And so a couple specifics, like for bloating, for example, or cravings, like what do you...
So I'll break this down because this is another thing that most women don't know about, but there's actually 5 different types of PMS that each have their own natural protocol.
Oh God.
I didn't know that.
I'm already all 5, I can tell.
That's the thing. A lot of us are multiple types. Yeah. But if you want, I can run through them really quickly so your listeners can have a breakdown. So type A is anxiety, of course. So that's the mood swings, irritability, all that kind of stuff. Got it. Type C is cravings. And along with that, it's usually like sugar cravings or simple carb cravings. But along with that comes headaches and fatigue.
Yes, that's me.
Got it.
Fall into that one. Then there's depression, which is the much lower, a lot of confusion, brain fog, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then you have type W or type H. So it's water retention or hyperhydration, depending on who you ask. And that is when you're experiencing a lot of bloating, breast tenderness, gain some weight. General emotional upset is also like in that one as well. And then the last one is type P, which is pain. And that is cramping, nausea, and that also encapsulates oily skin and hair and the acne. Yeah.
I'm literally all of them.
I've had like shades of all of them, but specifically the water retention one and the cravings and that kind of thing. Like, but yeah, I've had definitely, I'm sure we've all experienced all of them to a degree.
Yeah,
what do you like?
They usually vary also. So like sometimes you'll have one, or sometimes you'll have like more will be dominant or less, just because it is reliant on a lot of how balanced your hormones are, or the other things that are happening in your life, or if you have any nutrient deficiencies.
So each cycle you can have different PMS type each cycle.
Yeah, most people have like their dominant types. Like I'm definitely type A and water retention. So I definitely need to focus on those ones. But yes.
What do you, because your work is mainly using nutrition to balance these things out. So do you have like a rundown for each type of, I know it's so in depth, but if you could give like an outline for what you recommend.
So I would obviously say ultimately to cycle sync, because a lot of PMS symptoms are due to the imbalance between estrogen and progesterone in your luteal phase, so the last phase of your cycle. And if you're cycle syncing and you're cycle syncing your nutrition throughout the 4 different phases, it's more likely that those will be in like a good balance. So that would definitely be ultimate. Most of them have like a nutrient protocol. So like for type A, B vitamins, especially B1 and B6 work really well. And for type D, which is the depression, it's great to add in tryptophan, which is an amino acid that is a precursor to serotonin, which is your happy hormone.
Turkey.
So you can get...
Say turkey.
Turkey.
Yeah, exactly. Turkey, pumpkin seeds, all that kind of stuff. Water retention, it's great to... exercise is really important for that one. Because that actually gets your body moving. Also incorporating like warming foods and circulatory aids. So like ginger and stuff is really beneficial.
Love ginger.
If you have acne, vitamin E is really good, as well as chromium and zinc are really beneficial too. So you can either get those through your diet or you can supplement depending on like the severity of it and all the rest.
Right.
And it's so interesting. Like I cannot, like I can, but I can't be told to not have the darkest of chocolate when I'm PMSing. And it's so interesting, like how I can kind of regulate that and how I can have some self-control, because it's like, it's like, it's out of my hands how much I'm like, nope, I need it.
Because it's a mineral or something that you're
magnesium.
missing, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that on your magnesium on the chocolate.
Oh, so so I'm craving magnesium.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And it's really interesting. So chocolate cravings are a really big sign of a magnesium deficiency. Also, a lot of women are deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that has like over 300 metabolic reactions in the body. And one of their main functions are like nerve tranquilizing effects and muscle relaxants. So it's really good for people who have like a lot of cramping.
Oh, or like magnesium flake baths. Those are amazing
Epsom salt.
for sore muscles. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But also, I'm going to crush something a little bit kind of sad. Because it actually makes you sad. But chocolate contains this compound called DEA, which actually can make type A, so anxious expressions, a little bit more intense.
Oh.
So.
Alyssa.
Just.
No. That's good to know, though. See, this is like, and then you mentioned workouts, because I was also reading something of Elisa Vitti's one of her books, and she was mentioning how, for men, because men's hormonal cycle is a 24-hour cycle, and women's is 28 days, so it's like society is set up around a men's hormonal cycle, even down to like after work drinks, like happy hour is based around when it works the best for men's hormones, and morning meetings, like everything is set up in corporate society, especially for that.
What was that word for that?
Yeah, what was it? What's it called? Patriarchy.
Patriarchy.
Oh,
yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Patronizing.
Yeah.
But so she was mentioning like workouts, and we're taught that like we're kind of all told the same thing every morning. Do your routine, because that works for men and it's good for men. And the same with even intermittent fasting. She was meant like that is really good for men. But women, she was like, if you're going super hard during, I don't even know what phase, I'm sure that's why I wanted to ask you, but if you're doing a really intense like HIIT workout during this phase, you're actually setting yourself back and you should be doing more. So it's that in conjunction with nutrition, right? To make your symptoms fully kind of not there.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say, obviously as a nutritionist, I focus on nutrition, but as a holistic nutritionist, it means like you're focusing on every aspect of someone's life and how it all interconnects. So cycle syncing for me isn't just about the nutrition. It's like a full lifestyle, like cycle syncing your business, cycle syncing your relationship, like doing all of these things to find these benefits and working with your patterns and working with your hormones. Because like when we're talking about, most research studies are done on men and postmenopausal women because women have these hormonal fluctuations that create variables in research studies. So it's a lot harder to like track a research study unless you're doing it for an extended period of time, because you're not factoring in the different fluctuations.
Right. So let's just eliminate women in their reproductive ages from all studies.
And like, this is too much effort. You guys can go try to maybe figure it out on your own or not. Like, we're just going to don't ask, don't tell.
Just buy chocolate and wear condoms.
Yeah, pretty much. But like with the workouts, it's really sad because like you're saying, especially with HIIT workouts and high intensity workouts, especially with people that have hormonal imbalances like PCOS, like those can be super, super detrimental to you, and they're pretty difficult with their hormones. So one of the worst things about, I think, the fitness and wellness, quote unquote, industry has been this idea of it's calories in versus calories out. And you just need to burn as many calories as possible to lose weight. And like, that is super dangerous for women because their hormones can also dictate how they lose weight. And if you're messing with your hormones, those fat stores are going to get locked in.
Exactly.
So you're going to gain weight. You're going to have like puffiness. Like I remember when I was like 15, I was a total gym rat and like would go to the gym twice a day, do cardio in the morning, do like weight training in the evening. And I was like,
bulking up,
puffy. I wasn't even bulky. Like I was puffy. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like why I'm literally burning so many calories every single day doing fasted cardio. Like what's up? And it was because my hormones were totally out of whack and my inflammation was so much higher. So my body was retaining all this fat and this water so that, because it was in survival mode the whole time.
Wow. That's so, these are things that this just keeps, I sound like a broken record, but never are we taught this. Never.
No. And I'm still very curious, and I know you went into it a lot. Like you have some bomb TikToks and Instagram explaining this, but for our listeners, like I'm interested in the hormonal imbalances that women have, and I know there are different types. So if you want to kind of talk about what those are in case that relates to somebody, and they can be like, oh, well, that makes sense. That's probably what I have.
Yeah, PCOS is like one of the highest rates. So about 1 in 10 to 12 people or women in the States have PCOS, and that is polycystic ovary syndrome. And that's characterized, oftentimes you'll actually have those cysts on your ovaries, but sometimes they're not there. And it's more so characterized by higher androgens, which are like the male dominant hormones. And if you have PCOS, most doctors will diagnose PCOS in bigger people because it goes with the insulin resistance, and it's, a lot of bigger people have it, and it's associated with diabetes and obesity.
Yeah.
But there's lean PCOS that often goes overlooked because they don't have that same expression of the weight gain and inability to lose weight. But other symptoms of PCOS is, like I said, inability to lose weight, as well as facial hair and like odd hair growth, like masculine hair growth, as well as thinning hair around the crown and like through your part. You can also have treatment-resistant acne, skin tags, is really big with people with PCOS, as well as like really irregular periods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so, is it correct that PCOS is pretty rarely diagnosed? Like, is it kind of something that doctors frequently dismiss because it's women coming in expressing things that aren't taken seriously?
Yeah, I would say most hormonal imbalances are often overlooked, or if not overlooked, dismissed for an extended period of time before someone's like, actually, hey, like, please look at me, please see me, like I've been trying. And I think that's one thing that I've really recognized over the last year of being in practice is how many people have been dismissed by healthcare practitioners of literally just being like, no, it has nothing to do with it. It's in your head. It's not that bad. It's just part of being a woman.
Right.
It's normal. Screw off, man.
It's so messed up.
Yeah, I have kind of a no male doctor kind of rule in my life. And I literally just this week had a male doctor for the first time in a while that just mansplained to me what a dizzy spell is, because I'll get dizzy spells sometimes and I'm trying to figure that out. And I'm just like, no, I know. Anyway, regardless, I don't know if that's
so interesting.
maybe a good rule of thumb. But I've also had female doctors too that, we're trying to push birth control on me.
They go to the same, they're put through the same education system.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always had female doctors and didn't make a difference. And also it's like, and again, I don't want to talk malice because they do so many good things for us. But even like gynecologists, how many people reach out to me and they've been like, I've been to 4 gynecologists. Not one person is actually listening to me. I don't know what to do. The only thing that the only options they're giving me is birth control or a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pardon? You're 27 and they're asking you to have a hysterectomy?
No. What the fuck?
No.
Like, they didn't say anything about nutrition. They didn't say anything about chaste tree supplements or chasteberry supplements. Like, what?
That's so...
Yeah.
Do you have... Oh, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Do you have... So, obviously, this is all very specific to each individual's hormonal balances or imbalances, but are there broad stroke supplements that you recommend women take in general to kind of mitigate these without even knowing their individual imbalance?
So I would say doing a magnesium supplement, omega-3s, as well as a B vitamin complex with added B6 is like a really general rule of thumb that's really beneficial.
Yeah.
But in as much as like hormonal support supplements and stuff like that, like I said, chasteberry tree. It comes with a bunch of different names. It's also known as Vitex. It's also known as just like chaste. So
like CHAST?
CHASTE.
STE. Yeah. Chasteberry.
like
chased berry
virgin
tree,
berry.
Yeah, chased berry
or just
tree.
chased berry, or also known as Vitex. I feel like in most like supplement forms, unless you're going to like either, even a naturopath would probably have it, but like unless you're going to like an herbal store, it's probably called Vitex, which may be easier. And that one is really helpful with especially the progesterone and like supporting progesterone and that balance.
Well, how do you feel about, because I take biotin and a lot of collagen. How do you feel about those supplements?
I mean, I support, like, collagen's great. It like helps with the skin. I don't necessarily for menstrual health. It wouldn't make that much of a difference. It's more so like a protein. So it's for your like actual organs or your skin or your hair and stuff like that. Biotin can be great, again, for like hair and nails especially. But if we're thinking specific to menstrual health, like a B complex is super important. Any B vitamins that you're taking should be done in a complex because you don't want to throw off the balance between your B vitamins.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but are you not supposed to take vitamin B at the same time as vitamin C? Or does it not matter?
I don't think, oh,
okay.
I've never,
I heard I don't know where
I've
I
never
heard
had that
before. Okay, yeah, it was like to make sure you take like them at different times of the day because they kind of like cancel each other out, but if they're taken at the same time, they lessen the effects of the other. But I didn't know if that was true. Lies.
I love when you do nutrition nuggets, and I wonder if you can impart some wisdom, because I know a lot of, and I can speak to myself, like I'll get very overwhelmed thinking about like, well, I need to uproot my entire life and meal plan to try and control my hormonal imbalances. And I'm wondering, like, even is there stuff already in our fridge that we can concoct, or most likely, so it's not an overwhelming process for someone to think that they can do that?
Oh yeah, totally. Like, so if you guys want, I don't know if your listeners know about the 4 phases of their menstrual cycle.
We didn't know.
Yes, let's go into that. I mean,
I could go into that real quick and then add in like the little nutrition nuggets as it goes along.
Perfect.
Yes.
Cool. So your menstrual cycle starts from the first day of your bleed to the first day of your next bleed. And while you're bleeding, that's the menstrual phase. While you're in your menstrual phase, you're losing about 2 milligrams of iron per day. So it's really important to get iron and zinc as well. And like a great way to do that is oysters or like organic meats, green leafy vegetables are great. And then your second phase is the follicular phase. That's when estrogen is rising and your body's preparing to release an egg. And it's really important to help your body metabolize estrogen. And great foods to help metabolize estrogen are stuff like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, arugula, as well as fermented foods like kimchi and sauerkraut, great for metabolizing. And then the third phase is your ovulatory phase. That's when the egg is actually released and your hormones are kind of peaked up. And it's really important to support your liver in that phase because that's how your body is metabolizing and like eliminating all of these excess hormones.
So lots of alcohol.
Tons of alcohol. All the alcohol. No, definitely don't want that right now. But stuff that's great for that is like anti-inflammatory foods. So like turmeric lattes is a great addition during that time. Fatty fish, also salmon. And then your last phase is your luteal phase, which is when estrogen like dips, but then rises and steadies out a little bit. And then progesterone really rises. And it's really important to support that balance by continuing to metabolize the estrogen, but also to support yourself with like mood boosting amino acids, like we were talking about, tryptophan, poultry and seeds and nuts are really beneficial.
Wow.
Yeah. Those I have all of those in my fridge right now.
Right. It's like you don't have to just do a massive overhaul if you don't have the means or time or, slowly introduce it. But those are pretty overarching principles that we can all follow. That's crazy how simple it is. And we just didn't we're never told this. I can't get over that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up
And you
about it,
follow,
but-
and like, so on your cycle, like you'll follow that to a T, and you've noticed such a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I
prior.
won't always follow it to a T, and when I don't
Right.
follow it to a T, I kind of notice it. And like, I think that
Yeah.
that's what is really important, and that's what I try to teach. And like, education is the most important thing to me,
Yeah.
because I believe that like, if I just tell you to do something, you're gonna be like, okay, I'll do it for one cycle and then
right.
forget about it,
Out,
whatever.
right.
But if you know what to do and you have that education, you're confident in that education,
Yeah.
then you're able to kind of do it yourself. And then if you fall off, because inevitably things happen, like inevitably, you know, we have a
Yep.
really busy work schedule. We have
We're on
this, we have a that. Like
vacation.
things always change. But at least if you know these and you have it in your toolbox, it's so much
Yeah.
easier to come back up and be like, okay, and then keep on with it for like a little bit longer, and like make those dips that you fall off a little bit shorter, because you
Yeah.
actually can recognize the cues in your body and you understand how to connect to your body,
Yeah.
and how to like, you have the tools to repair what's happening. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important.
So
I love that.
I have a question regarding, so does any of this have any effect if you are on birth control still? This is only for when you're off birth control, correct?
So depending on what kind of birth control you're on,
Like
you
the pill?
yeah, so like the combination pill, which is like the most common, and it's like the estrogen and progestin pill. That one is usually monophasic, which means you're just in one phase of your cycle. So you're not actually going through those different phases,
Interesting.
right? But if
That's
you're
what,
on
like-
some of the other ones, it can suppress ovulation, but not consistently. So again, your cycle is a little bit off. What I would say would be really important when you're on birth control is to know how to support your body while you're on it, so that it's not affecting your systems as bad. Because,
Right.
you know, my doctor didn't tell me every time I went to her to get it re-upped that it depletes certain nutrients, and
Right.
yeah.
Never been told that. And I have heard conflicting messages about like, oh, well, if you're on birth control, you aren't having, you know, it's like a fake, it is like a fake period, but I for sure get symptoms like my boobs will get sore. I have all the symptoms I mentioned to you before, even though I'm on birth control, and they're very much real, or I'm feeling them, even though the hormones are synthetic. So you can still get PMS symptoms on birth
yeah.
control. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
So-
And like some of them aren't monophasic. Some of them will have like two different phases or a few different phases. But yeah, I would say if you're on birth control, I'm all about tracking, and I'm all about the patterns. So if you track your patterns and you notice that like at this point in time, I'm always kind of feeling like this, then you're able to predict and prepare for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's the huge thing in cycle syncing. But even if you're not cycle syncing, even if you're a dude, even if whatever, like if you're tracking your patterns and realize and make all these correlations with your patterns, then you're able to predict and prepare for them.
Yeah.
I've been starting to track on my own this year. I think last year too, I started a little bit because I realized my anxiety got worse. I wonder why.
2020.
Nothing's really going on in the world. But you know, and this is another reason why we love having you here and learning more about this. And me personally is that like in my tracking, I've noticed like, oh, I'm not only having premenstrual symptoms, I'm having postmenstrual symptoms that are mimicking your typical premenstrual symptoms. And I'm just like, I can't even keep track like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know what to expect because I'm not cycle syncing. And I know you offer like consultations and you do group programs where you get into this. So kind of explain what that process is like and how maybe you would tell a sorry soul like mine who has issues like that in your programs.
So do you want me to like how to start tracking, or
Like
about
what
my
services
programs?
you
What services and like, how
Okay.
you start the cycle syncing process too. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, education is the most important thing to me. So I'm going through rounds and I'm actually releasing a course. Well, I just released it actually. And it teaches the basics about nutrition and fitness, but then goes really in depth about how to cycle sync your nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle to the 4 phases, but also how to identify and repair or manage menstrual related issues, how to improve gut health, because gut health is so important in regards to menstrual health as well. And then it also teaches how to prevent pregnancy naturally or improve fertility. And then with that, I'm doing like group programs and one-on-one consultations. But I would say like the first thing to start, just like, it's all about connecting to yourself. So one of like the things that I tell a lot of my clients to do is every morning, like shake everything out and just stand there for 2 minutes and scan your body. Like scan if you feel any discomfort anywhere, if you feel bloated or if you feel like really lethargic, if anything's hurting, and then scan your mind and be like, do I feel focused and clear and ready to take on my day? Or do I feel like really foggy? Do I feel this? Am I having a hard time remembering things? Right? And then write those down and track it just for like, do it for 1 cycle, do it for 2 cycles, because it's really cool when you're like, I mean, I do this all the time when I have these thoughts, because I have these reoccurring thoughts all the time. And I'm like, oh, I haven't had this thought in so long and it sucks. And like, I hate that I feel like this. And then I go back to the exact day, my last cycle. And I'm like, okay, at least I know now and I can separate myself from that. Yeah.
It gives you a reason instead of just like, where is this coming from? At least you can name it. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Have you noticed like more women and maybe more clients or people that you're talking to, you know, does that mimic like kind of what I was saying? Do they mimic the unpredictability of their hormones, especially this year because of the pandemic? Have you noticed like more out of sync, cycle syncing, basically, like people that are like, I have no idea what's going on. Am I, you know, and what's the chicken or the egg? Is my anxiety causing my hormonal imbalances, or am my hormonal balances causing this anxiety, you know, or is it more kind of out of whack this year than you've noticed prior?
I don't know necessarily. Like, it's just a different type of out of whack.
Yeah.
You know, before I think it was a lot of everything's go, go, go. And like, I feel just so claustrophobic because I'm just like constantly going and like, I don't have that time to like, and space to breathe. And then you go into this year and you have added anxiety and added stress and like all of these things happening. And also like less activity and not going out. So you have all of these different things that are all piling on top of each other. Right. And I think we've all had that always. And like, what's interesting about the pandemic is now we're all sharing this one type of anxiety, which is interesting and like able to connect people in a different way. But it definitely has been difficult. And I think that there's a lot more of interest in the natural route now.
Yeah.
I think because of the pandemic and because of everything else, they're like, even if you look at the pandemic, like what government has told you to support your body and your immune system through nutrition and like keep yourself safe through nutrition and a positive lifestyle so that if you get the virus that it's not as bad or that like you have less chances. Like, so that I think, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, I heard a lot about that and like how annoyed people were that that wasn't something talked about. And I think that that's like brought people more so into this world of like, maybe we do have to start looking at things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And also feel more connected to ourselves. Because I think before we were really focused with distraction and now we sit with ourselves a lot more.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are yearning for that like deeper connection. And I have like a really intense stat that always leaves people flabbergasted. But the average woman will have 451 menstrual cycles in her life spanning 38.5 years.
451?
451, spanning 38.5 years. Just sad.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I'm 31.
Oh my God.
Had my period for almost 10 years. And I have another. Wow, I probably had maybe, what, 300?
Wait, you got your period when you were 21?
Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I mean, 20.
I was like, what?
Wait,
20 years.
That's hilarious.
Never mind. I'm about to turn 22. Wow,
That's
holy
crazy.
shit.
And when you think about it in a way that like so many of us have like a disconnect from our cycles or will dread them or want to like get rid of it or like view it through a negative lens and feel really like uncomfortable because it's a taboo subject, but also feel really like, you know, dismissed and longing because they know that there's something missing there, that they want to connect with it, but like they haven't been, as a dread. And it's like, if we're looking at something that is so significant of our lot, like part of our lives,
so
through such a negative lens, like that affects you so much.
It does.
You know, and no matter all the healing and all of the whatever that you try to do, if you're still viewing yourself from that negative lens, you're missing the beat.
Yeah, exactly. It really, and it's such a natural, it's the most natural thing, you know? So it's like, I don't like the narrative, and obviously we all know that it's here and why it happens, but the narrative of like, ugh, being a woman sucks. Oh, I hate being a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you hear that all the time with periods, and just like, so, you know, sucks. This is the worst, but I know it sucks. It's just, and it's just such a normal part of the vernacular for women. And it's said like lightly or dismissively, but it seeps into your psyche, and it's decades of that and then you just it's also giving yourself permission to give into these unhealthy cravings at that time or whatever it may be, just because, oh, that's just the way it is. That's just how it is. The same way that if we had the answers of why it was happening and understood it from a healthy perspective, it'd be like, oh, well, this is just what I need to do. And you do the healthy thing, as opposed to, because we're adaptable beings. Like if we're given all the information, you know, we're like, oh, that's just what it is. I'm just going to eat more pumpkin seeds versus it's just what it is. I'm going to eat a whole cake today.
Exactly. 100%.
So yeah, it's crazy.
And what kind of advice, I mean, before we let you go, because you were talking about women who, you know, feel very overwhelmed about the process of cycle syncing, because it's just a scary process of just trying to understand and like no longer surrender to your hormones and be a slave to it, for lack of a better word. So like, what kind of advice would you give women who are at that point to get them to understand that it's okay to connect with your body more? And
I mean, first of all, it's not huge changes. Like, it's not this big thing that like I have to uproot my entire life and whatever. It's actually really small things that just like click into place better. You know, like if you're like on a wellness journey, like you're already doing all these things, but just like allow them to click better so that aligns with you, so that you'll end up like getting better results from it.
Right.
And so it's not that, okay, so when you're trying to do it on your own, it can be very overwhelming. You know, like I've spent, this course that I just created is over a year's worth of research.
Wow.
Like, it's not just that, like, you know, you Google something and like, that's it. Like, this is a year's worth of research of like compiling a resource, because I think that we're not given a resource. And I think that that's what makes it seem so overwhelming, is that like you Google something, you get 80 million hits to something, and you're just like, whoa, close my computer. Like, I don't even want to have to decipher this, because like,
or people pick the one that they already thought, you know, there's conflicting responses when you Google something, and then they're just like, well, this one confirms what I already thought, so they go with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've tried to create this resource that is like an accumulation that not just teaches you about cycle syncing, but also about nutrition, because like it's super important to know, again, why you're doing what you're doing. And like we were talking about before, things come up, life changes, like, there's always things that can come up. So if we have the knowledge and understanding of like all of these different things, and we can connect to ourselves and like hear the cues that our body are giving us, I think a lot of us, when we hear those cues, we all know when our body is telling us something.
Right.
I know. Yeah.
But if we don't know where to look, it just gets overwhelming and like defeating. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to create a resource that it's like, let me just look here. Let me Google like that. Let me type this into the, you know, and like search that, and like I know what I'm doing.
Where can people find your course?
So I think next month I'm releasing it again. And just join my mailing list. I'll probably end up having a wait list up there by the time this episode comes out. So join the wait list, contact me directly. I try to respond to all of my emails and all of my Facebook messages, or Instagram messages. So just contact me directly, but it should all be on my website.
Amazing.
Love it. I know. It's like, because I talk to other women about, and Molly's more in tune with this, so she knows the 4 cycles, so we can talk about that. But like other women in my life, it's overwhelming because they probably don't even take it seriously. Like, nah, I don't, pumpkin seeds, what is that going to do? It's changing the minds of just like, no, this is possible. You can take it seriously because we haven't been taught otherwise.
Yeah,
totally.
It's like, so unfortunate.
Even if we're talking about like tryptophan and turkey, like you can think about how quick that response is. Because, tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin, which is the happy hormone, which is also the precursor to melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, right? So if you eat a ton of turkey, do you not pass out on the couch after Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
and red
the
wine.
reason that's happening.
Yeah. Red wine makes me pass out too as I'm drinking it. Like I will like pass out after.
I mean, that's the alcohol.
That's true.
That's
regardless. Yeah.
If I drink a lot of liquor, I pass out.
Oh, I wonder why.
Coffee makes me jittery. Why?
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's just like you're saying, you have gone in depth in this knowledge and research, and the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And yet that doesn't mean it's not accessible to people who aren't specializing and professionals in the field just by slight shifts, because we are adaptable beings and we've already adapted to the way men's cycles work. So it should even be easier to adapt to something that actually
is for us.
Yeah, it's for us.
Yeah.
I love that. I definitely am signing up for your mailing list. I want to get those courses, and I want to talk to you again.
Yes.
I'm always down for it.
Thank you so much.
Seriously, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation.
Oh my God. That was so good. I love her so much. I'm so glad that she was here to teach us all about these things, because I realize I have problems.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, you do get used to certain things in your body, but being used to something is different from it being necessary.
Yeah.
And from it being okay. And also it's just like, realizing that we have control over a lot of it individually just by what we eat. It's not even down to like, oh, I don't have this doctor or this type of healthcare, which is a whole mess in this country anyway. But when it comes down to what you're eating, at least that, and even like working out, different types of workouts for different times of the month.
Yeah.
There's just so much to learn, and I want to pick her brain even more. I want to talk to her
I want to
more.
have her on again. And like the first step, they say, is admitting you have a problem. So knowing that you are, maybe a slave to your hormones, it doesn't have to be a thing anymore. There's something you can be proactive about it. And talking to Nicole makes you feel like you have way much more control over it than prior. So
yeah.
I love her. Again, her name is Nicole Bendayan. And if you want to follow her on TikTok or Instagram, it's at Nicole.Bendayan. We'll be tagging her in our Instagram, so please check that out. She has a mailing list out called the Sync Society VIP mailing list. So go to her website and check that out. She offers group programs and one-on-one consultations, so she can work with you personally to see what fits your problems, issues, lifestyles, etc. Please follow her.
Yeah.
Follow us at the SOS Pod on Instagram and Twitter. We've got a Patreon, y'all.
Yes, we do.
Shout out to Nija. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to my mom, Nancy, for being a patron.
We love you, Mama.
We love you.
Mama loves you.
Yes, $3, $7, $11. You could be a patron too, and we will shout you out every episode. And subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. We're
Rate
there.
and review.
YouTube. Rate and review. It helps us reach more people. Shout out to Planned Parenthood, Black Lives Matter. You know the deal.
You know the deal. I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Melissa Rosano.
And here's to turning meltdowns
into magic.